Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to make a health system in Sandbox. Just like this. As you can see, if I take damage, it goes down. So, before we start, I just want to say if you're a total beginner, go check out Iridium's video for beginners or Small Fish Dev playlist for beginners. These two are really great sources to learn Sandbox Editor, and Iridium's video will even help you to set up Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio, which is necessary for this video. Also, before we start, I myself don't have a Discord server, but if you want a Discord server in where you can ask questions and get help, Smallfish Discord server is really great, and the Sandbox official Discord server is good too. All of these are in the description below. Let's get started, boys. Let's do it. Let's do it. Come on. Okay, so first of all, we need to go to the hierarchy and right click and create and then player controller. Hope you can see it. So Sandbox works by having game objects. So player controller is a game object. And in the game object, we have components, which are codes. All right. So we can create a component from here, as you can see, or we can go to these folders. So Sandbox have already organized it for you. So you need to put your component slash code in this code folder. You can't put it in assets. It will not work. All right. As you can see, I've already made a system like this. Let's make a new folder. Right click, folder. Let's call this health folder and then create folder. Then we double click it. And now here we can create our component. So we did this because it's good to have your project organized. It will help you a lot when your project becomes big. The health system, we will call this component. Confirm. And our double press it. Okay, if you have set up Visual Studio Code correctly, it should look like something like this. If you have set up Visual Studio, it doesn't matter. It should look something similar. I assume you know a bit of C# because it's going to be real important. I will still go through the basics with you, but it will go fast. And if you understand C# basics, this will be much easier. So first of all, let's just delete this shield. We don't need it. And let's delete the content inside. We don't need it either. So let's start. Using Sandbox is just the Sandbox API. You don't really need to understand what it does. It's just something every component needs. Public means that other classes like this one can access this class. It can see this class, all right? Class is just like a blueprint, okay? And this is just the name of your class. So let's call this health system, okay? And this just means it's a component, which just means it lies under objects in the scene. All right, it's time to make a variable. So private float, and we call this for health. Boom. So this means it's private. Other classes like this one can't access this. So if you do public class, let's say do damage, and then you say let's make a function, a public void do damage to enemy. Right now this code will not be able to access this float, but if you do it public, now this class can access this variable. All right, since we don't want other classes to change the private float health easily, but we still want them to access it. How do we do that? Well, we make another variable. This one is public, should be float2, and we call it health with a big H, right? And then we set a get and set to it. So a get just means we get the private health value. So we return it. By return it, we get the private health value. So like this. So when people call the public health value, they will get this private health value. Now, the sole reason we do this, it's because of this set. So when we have set, we can add rules before other classes can change this private health value. So if we do, for example, this health value can't be changed unless the damage is from an enemy. Okay, so that's the reason we use this set. But since today we're not going to do that, let's just set our health to the value. Gonna be Alright, since we got this, let's just make another thing. We need to make a public float, which is our max health, and this can be gettable and settable, or it's equal to 100 for now. Okay, so our max health is used to define the max health of the player, and this private health is what our health is right now, and this public health is just a way for other classes to get to the private health. Okay, so the logic is almost done. Let's just set up so when the game starts, the player has full health, means he has the max health. All right, so this is a sandbox API feature. So let's start with selected, override, then start. So this is when the game starts, okay? And we want to set our health equal to max health. So another cool feature in Sandbox, you put property like this, you can now see this value in the editor. So we can do it for both of these property, then for the max health, and then we can change it in the editor too. Property. Actually, let's remove this. We don't really need it. If you go back to the Sandbox editor and go to the player controller and then press add component, we can add our component we just made, health system. And you can, as you guys can see, the property thing worked. We can see the values here. Max health here. We can set this up to 200, 500. So now all we need to do is make an UI for this. So with me, go to the hierarchy, press create, and then empty object. We will call this UI. And then for UIs, it's very important to have this screen panel. If it's in the world 3D, you have world panel. But since we are just doing 2D, the screen, and not the 3D world, we will use screen panel. And since we have screen panel, now we can do a component, add component, new component, and we will call this layer UI. And you need to make a razor panel component. So Sandbox uses Razor, which is a mix of HTML and CSS and C Sharp, all right? Press this one. Where do we add this? Let's add this to our health folder. I just want to thank Carson Compound. I actually copied his UI from this video. You guys check it out. It's actually really good. Okay. And this is how it should look like. First of all, in here is the C Sharp code. You can put C Sharp code like you can see here. This is C Sharp code. We can actually remove this and remove this, right? And before we go to this one, let's just talk about this. So this is how much the UI updates. So you can put a value, which means every time a value updates, so every time our health updates, the UI will update. Or we can do time.now, which is actually really bad. And this will update every frame, which is actually bad. We do not want this. So let's move it. So you can do this. Let's move this and put brackets. So then we do a return just so it looks cleaner. So this does no difference. It just makes it cleaner. This. Okay, we will use this for so long before we use our health system. So here it's just HTML. I will not go deep into it. I can remove this too. Okay, for creating our health UI, you can think of it as 3 boxes. Okay, so for our UI, you can think of it as 3 boxes. So this is the first box. It's just showing us the size. All right, this is the size. It contains everything. Okay. And then inside it, we maybe have a background. So this is another box, all right. Background. And then inside this, we have an inner, which is like, it could be like black or gray. You know, when the health is gone, it will show this gray, black thing. And then inside it or over it, we have the health thing, okay? Health Boom, 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 boom. Health. Okay. So when the health gets removed, the other inner will show. Kind of confusing, I know, but you'll get it when we start coding. Okay. So first, let's make a divisions, and this is a class, and this class will be called, let's say, health bar. This will contain everything. So inside it, here, we'll make another div, and also inside it class equal, let's say this for background. All right, and then inside it, so this is our background. The health bar is just almost the container. It just holds the size and stuff. This is the background, and we will make another div. A lot of divs, I know, dude. A lot of divs. And inside it, we will do class, and this will be our inner. So this is our inner color. And inside our inner color, we will have another div. This is gonna be our health. All right, this is gonna be the red bar. So this is the inner. When the red bar is not showing, it will show the inner. This is just the background, and this is just the size and where it's placed. Okay. So, boom. So before we continue, we need to access our health component to show our fill according to our health. So let's go here inside the code thing, and then let's type public. Then our health component was health system, and we will call this for player. You can call this health one or whatever you want. I would like to call this for player, and then let's do get set like this. Now, if we go up here, we will use something called style width. Now this means the bar will grow accordingly to the player's health. So if we do this, and then we do this A, which means C sharp code, and then we do player dot health. That's our player's health. Now we need to divide our player's health by the max health. So player dot max health, and then multiplied by 100, and then we will have this percent. The class fill, this is our bar. It will grow according to the player's health divided by the max health multiplied by 100. So if you imagine the player's health to be 70 and the player's max health to be 100, now imagine 70 divided by 100, it becomes 0.7. And if we take 0.7 multiplied by 100, it becomes 70. So our bar will grow to 70. All right, so our HTML code is done. All we need to do now is to stylize it. So if you go back to your sandbox editor, go to our health folder, you will see sandbox editor have created something called playerui.razor.css. We will use this to stylize our UI. So to get our health bar, to get this class, you need to do something like this. You point dot health bar. Okay, accordingly to what it's called. Sometimes if you have multiple health bar, it's better to add this so it knows it's the health bar under the root. Okay, so inside this we will do position to be absolute, means we will control its position, and the bottom will have it 32px, and it's going to be at the left 32px. So this is our position. Now for the background, let's do this again, dot background. Okay, now it's time to decide how big our background is going to be. So width, let's do 500. Height be 64. I've already done this, so I know what size I want. You can experiment on your own. And background color, we use black, like this. And let's add some padding to it. 8 pixels should be fine. Okay, now inside this, we will do our inner. So, inner. Now, our inner's background color is gonna be a dark gray. And then we will add this flex grow, which just means it will grow, always be grown to the size 1. Then inside this, we will do the fill. This is our red bar. And our height gonna be 100. And our color gonna be red. Yep, I also forgot to tell you something. So if you scroll up, you need to remove this background color. And you can actually remove most of these. This. Okay, if your CSS is looking like this, that's great. I just realized I made some mistakes when making the HTML. Let's fix them real quick. So as you see, this div thing needs to be down here. Copy it. That. And another mistake is every class needs this at the end. I forgot to add these. Boom, boom. And we need to add one here too. All right, so add these. And then lastly, we need to make this a property so we can set it from the editor. So we can drag this component or game object, which is our play controller, and we can access the health variable. Like this, save, and now go to the editor. Also, lastly, before we move on, let's just change this to player.health. So now it changes every time the player's health changes instead of every frame. Okay, so when you're in the editor, go to the UI game object and drag your player controller game object here, this, and now hopefully it should work. So before we test this, we need quickly to go to the player controller, then the component health system. There we will add something so we can check if this truly works. So protected, override on updated means this will update every frame. And if input dot keyboard dot pressed E, so every time we press the button E, we will take health minus 10. We will take 10 damage, all right? And hopefully this will show in the UI too. Now we can truly test. Let's go full screen. And as you can see, this is our health UI down there. And if you press E, it will go down. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to subscribe, like for more epic tutorials like this one. Yay! Woohoo!